Good morning. I want to thank Alex Gosseltine, first of all, from the BC Northern Real Estate Board for offering me this opportunity to speak with you today. I have a few remarks that I wish I could have shared in person and wanting to provide an update to you on the work of the Real Estate Council and how it affects you as a real estate professional. First of all, I want to talk about what's changing and what has changed, what will change, and just the theme of change that's been so pervasive in all of our communication. As you know, in 2016, the Real Estate Council transitioned from a self-regulating organization to one that is supported by a board, a council of government appointees. We have 12 government-appointed council members. And with that transition came the council's transition to that of a Crown agency as a public service organization. So I'm going to talk about, in theme, some of the changes that have happened to the council as an organization, to the regulatory structure, and then also really touch on the key changes with the forthcoming rules that will impact the practice of real estate professionals across BC. In 2016, the government, through amendments to the Real Estate Services Act, specified that the council would no longer have rulemaking authority. And so I speak to you today on behalf of the Real Estate Council to clarify that the council interprets, enforces, and educates licensees and the public about the rules, but we do not make the rules. The superintendent of real estate and his office has been the one drafting and making the rules that have guided the changes in real estate conduct. The council certainly had a lot of opportunity for input and for consultation on those rules, but in thinking about how the future unfolds and who's responsible for what, I wanted to set out that structure at the beginning so that you're aware of the changes that are coming and who's responsible in different areas of those change. As a brief overview, there are some key sea changes that have happened since 2016. Certainly the changes in the public's expectations of licensees and of the regulator. Changes in the volume of complaints. The council received in our last fiscal year, which ended June 30th, 2017, over 900 complaints from the public, as well as real estate professionals. We also initiated our own investigations. And since that time, now more than halfway through our next fiscal year, we're on track to exceed over 1,000 complaints. That means a large focus of our organization is on resolving those complaints, investigating complaints, and moving those complaints forward through the due process in the discipline part of the organization. We also want to focus more resources on the education side of what we do, ensuring that we can keep licensees abreast of the changes and help them be in compliance with the Real Estate Act, the regulation, and the rules to prevent errors, mistakes, and misconduct from happening before it impacts the public. I talked about the changes in governance with the structure of the council, and I talked about the changes in the relationship with government and the council now being a Crown service agency. But I've also wanted to point out the changes in the penalties that are coming since September 30th, 2016. Conduct for licensees is now subject to penalties of up to $250,000 per infraction under the Real Estate Services Act, and double that for managing brokers. And as I'm sure you're aware, that presents significant risk in the profession that didn't exist before. And finally, changes in the council's expectation of licensees. And one theme I want to leave you with in this discussion this morning is the power that you have as licensees to take ownership of your practice and to educate yourselves about the changes that are coming to the real estate rules. It's important that the council provides you with the resources that you need to stay abreast of the change, and we want your feedback on how we can better equip you to be successful and to serve your clients to the best of your abilities. First and foremost, the Real Estate Council's mandate is to serve the public. And as part of our transition to a Crown agency, we created a 3-year service plan, which is a government strategic plan reporting out on key priorities and objectives. With the World Cafe event last November and a survey, we received a lot of feedback from industry about that plan. And as a result of the work that we did, the input we had from stakeholders, the efforts from staff, our 3-year plan has a new vision. And with that vision, I think we're very aligned with real estate boards across the province. A vision to have public trust in competent and ethical real estate professionals. That's at the heart of all that we do. whether it's educating licensees or raising awareness to the public of new rules, at the heart of what we're doing is always consumer protection. So let's do a deep dive into some of the other changes that have been happening with Council. I talked about our 3-year plan. Our service plan is now published on the Council website. That reflects our goals and the foundational pieces of the work that we'll be doing over the next 3 years. I also want to talk about some other changes you can expect. There will be an increase in fees in 2018 for real estate licensees. Renewals will increase about $120. New applicants will see an increase of $140 for applications for licenses effective April 1st of this year. Those fees were considered in part to be able to provide more resources to licensees, to be able to be more proactive, as I mentioned, at the front end of practice, but also to educate consumers and to ensure that consumers are just as aware as licensees of the changes to practice and of the important standards that real estate licensees are required to meet. The third big change is the update to Legal Update, the relicensing education program that all of you are mandated to take every 2 years in order to renew your license. We've been working with our education partner, BC Real Estate Association, and all of the boards across BC to transition this relicensing education piece to reflect both an in-class portion as well as an online portion, and to create a blended model so that you're not sitting just in a classroom for 5 hours at a time trying to absorb a huge volume of material. You're spending time on your own terms reading, digesting material, going online to complete part of the course, and then transitioning to the classroom, where we hope you'll be able to engage more about the subject matter, to discuss scenarios, and to understand some of the changes in practice that have been incorporated into the course, including an updated ethics module to remind real estate professionals of those foundational pieces to their practice. Just like agency, just like their duties to clients, ethics is a key part of successful real estate practice. January 1st, the Legal Update 2018 course was unveiled. It will be a transition year this year. If your license expires July 1st or later, you will be required to take the new Legal Update 2018. And if it's earlier than July 1st, you have the option of continuing with the 2017 course. Given the significant change coming to the industry, I would encourage many of you to consider taking the Legal Update 2018 course, even if you don't need it to renew your license. There's a lot of excellent material in there, and again, we've partnered with Real Estate Errors and Omissions Insurance Corporation to ensure that there's updated information on risks and different cases that provide trends to licensees to understand some of the nuances of the profession. We're also reviewing our licensing education programs across the organization, and we want to ensure that the education that licensees receive prepares them for competent practice with the skills and the tools they need. We had a survey of licensees and have had an excellent response so far to that survey. We hope to get a final report by the end of March that will guide some of the next steps we take with real estate education. So those are some of the changes that have happened, but what's still to change? The superintendent rules are coming. The superintendent, as you know, notified the public and licensees that he would delay the implementation of the rules to June 15th, 2018. Those rules include a ban on dual agency, as well as 4 new disclosure forms. Disclosures of commissions, disclosures of the services expected from a licensee, and the risks to an unrepresented party in a real estate transaction. There's also a new form with respect to the exemption, a very narrow exemption to the ban on dual agency. The Council has been working with its education partners to prepare education materials on the new rules. We will be rolling out a course for all licensees online through the UBC Real Estate Division that will keep you informed of what you need to know about the new rules, how to ensure you can comply, and how to use the new forms that are part of the new rules and disclosures. The superintendent has also indicated he will be issuing new rules again to clarify the process for avoiding conflicts of interest. We expect those rules will be released shortly for public, and we encourage all real estate licensees to provide input to the superintendent's office directly on those rules during the public consultation period. So with all of that change, what's staying the same? Well, I'm glad to tell you that there are a few things staying the same. I talked about our mandate to protect the public interest. I talked about our mandate to educate licensees and consumers. I think that's one of the most exciting pieces of the Real Estate Council's mandate, where we want your feedback on how to prepare you for best practices in your profession. We want to work with managing brokers more closely, providing toolkits so that they can in turn educate their licensees in their weekly office meetings. We'll be planning webinars and podcasts to be able to keep you informed of the changes coming with the rules. And we want to ensure that this information is constantly available to you from our website. In addition, if you haven't been reading the weekly e-blast from Council, I encourage you, pay attention to the Real Advice newsletters that we're sending out every week with updates on the rules, updates on practice, and tips and tricks that you can take to ensure that you're complying with the rules and with the Real Estate Services Act. We maintain a very strong commitment to engage with the public and with industry. We want to hear from you. I'd love the opportunity to meet with you in person. I'd love to come up north and be able to understand some of the smaller offices and some of the nuances in your practice. We know that real estate practices vary across the province, and I know that as soon as I go out of the Lower Mainland, what I see is a very different face of real estate. The nuances, the challenges of the profession, the opportunities are not the same as they are in the urban areas. And we want your feedback on how we can better meet your needs to ensure you're staying abreast of the changes, but also continuing to have success in your business. And I'll reiterate that reminder, you have the obligation to educate yourselves about change. It's the responsibility of each licensee to stay on top of changes made to the rules as soon as they come into effect. You must ensure that you're meeting professional standards and avoiding conduct that could give rise to complaints and potentially expensive discipline processes and significant penalties. In closing, I want to say that I'm excited about these changes. I think this is an opportunity for us as a regulator to be very aligned with the licensees and the public we serve, and to continue to partner in areas such as education. And I think there's a huge potential for BC to be a national leader in our industry in terms of professionalism, ethics, and consumer safety. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I wish you a very successful AGM, and I look forward to meeting you in person soon.